Never ever define yourself by people's opinions of you, or by the way they look at you, by the way they treat you with disdain. That is not the way you should define yourself. I remember just before I got married, my husband then was approached by a close friend of mine who suggested that we rent out a boys' quarters. Now, these are not the fancy boys' quarters. It's the boys' quarters where the pit latrine is half a mile away, where you have to fetch water from another half mile, where bedrooms are separated by outdoor corridors, and there's a communal setting. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is a close friend with whom I studied, who knows my trajectory, who knew where I was going, whom I had even worked together with in an organization. But that's how she saw us, living in such a setting. If you have been to the slums near some quarters where the police live, similar to that, that's where she saw us. She said, this couple, they're not good for anything else. And I realized that for all this time that we were speaking, chatting, I shared my dreams, she never saw me as anything else. And even today, she still sees me in that way. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what. She's even attended some of my poetry ceremonies where we're giving out awards. But still, the way she looks at me and she treats me and she speaks of me is a reflection of how she defines me. That is not how I define myself. I define myself as a daughter, a friend, someone loved by God, someone who is here to create and inherit a wealth that will impact the world. That is who I am. I am on a journey to complete a mission, not my mission, but God's mission. And He's using my gifts. And with those gifts, He will provide all the resources I need until my fourth generation is intact. Not only that, the resources I need to make the impact that He has desired of me. And that's where I'm going in this season. In 2006, I traveled to Mexico. Fantastic place, my first trip to South America. It was for a Women's World Organization conference, and my paper had been accepted. However, the travel details were quite lengthy and quite costly. I went to one of the organizations associated with this conference and asked them if they knew of any leads to funding, politely. The lady looked me up and down with so much contempt towards me, flipped me aside, literally spat, and shoved me out of the office. Imagine her horror. Imagine how she was stupefied when she saw me walking into that plush hotel in Mexico City, 2006 of August. Oh yes, almost grief-stricken. Her jaw dropped. It was even worse when she found out that I had traveled business class. You see, the resources I needed came to me. But the way she treated me was the way she had always defined me. At least at that moment, she defined me as someone who wasn't worthy of going on this trip, who wasn't worthy of a moment of her conversation and time. And there are people like that. But the way people treat you is not the way you should define yourself, even though it's difficult. I sometimes walk into spaces because I'm known to challenge, to question, to encourage creative discussion. I feel the animosity and hostility. But that's not who I am. I am a creative person whom God placed on this earth to make a change. I want to challenge the status quo because the status quo has put our children with almost no access to educational materials, that has led hundreds of girls into pregnancy. That's the status quo, and I want to change that. If you're comfortable with children spending 7 months at home with little or no access to learning, that's fine with you. But not with me. God placed me on this earth for a reason, and I will fulfill the mission. That's lesson 18 on this 19th of October, 2020. Don't let other people's opinion of you define you. Be blessed. I'm Beverley Nambozo Nsengiyunva. I'm the team leader at Rich Diction, founder and director at Babishai Niwe Poetry Foundation, and I believe in transforming the landscape of communication through public speaking training and poetry.